1982, Pole Position. The OG of sim racing games, although you wouldn't call it a sim nowadays, would you? Namco put this piece together as a revolutionary game using 16-bit processors for the first time ever in an arcade cabinet. What do you do in this game, you ask? Well, first, you do a qualifying run around Fuji Speedway, and if you make it in less than 73 seconds, you race. And if you don't, then try again. (1983) Chequered Flag. Now you might think that we went backwards on the graphics a bit, but the reason is that we went from arcade machines to personal computers in the 80s. But don't get fooled by the visual simplicity. 10 different tracks to drive, 3 different cars to choose from, and a driving simulation like never before. You can both run out of fuel and overheat your engine, causing damage to the car. (1984) REVS. This game brought such improvements to the sim racing world that it immediately overshadowed its predecessors. You can now change the angle of your wings, adjusting the car's downforce, and unlike in Chequered Flag, you can actually race opponents, and they have hilarious names. 1985 Hang On. The only motorcycle game on this list caused a lot of commotion. It brought completely new controls to the industry, where a person sits on a bike replica and steers it. On top of that, they created a fake 3D effect using sprites, something we now call 2.5D. (1986) WEC Le Mans. If you wanted to race a Le Mans car in a game, you were not spoiled for choice in the 80s. You just got in whatever was there at the time. What way is this game different from the others? It's the first game to introduce somewhat proper behavior of different surfaces. If you drove onto the grass, you felt it, and it cost you almost everything, but each mistake could be corrected. 1987 Full Throttle / Top Speed. Why is this game on the list, you might ask? Did it bring anything revolutionary into the sim racing industry? Yes and no. This was a fairly mediocre game even for its time. Taito basically just copied a more successful title by the name of Outrun and replaced the car. But they added one thing. Something that many games are using to this very day. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the first ever game to feature Nitro Boost. 1988 Winning Run. First, 3D shaded polygons are in the game, baby. This beauty dropped as a fictional Formula 1 racing game using a simple qualifying then race format. You could choose between 2 driving modes, easy and technical, where you actually had to shift properly as an F1 driver would. Also, if you'd like to know more about this ancient arcade era of sim racing games, check my in-depth video I made quite a while back. I'll leave it up there in the cards, and if you're liking this video so far, please leave a like and subscribe to let me know. Thanks! 1989 Indianapolis 500 The Sim. We're leaving the era of arcade machines for good and settling on consoles and computers. And boy was this game a huge jump for them. Yellow flags, accidents, retirements, flat tires, and other shenanigans could happen during the race. And to prepare for the race, you can tweak virtually everything on your car from wings, engine, roll bar, and so on. 1991 Formula 1 Grand Prix. This one brought the beautiful 3D shaded polygons into the console and comfort of your own home. Again, you could tweak almost everything on your car like the previous game, but this one added gear ratios, tire compounds, and better wing settings. It also had the most realistic driving physics at the time, making it amazing. (1993 IndyCar Racing). This was a great game that offered you to play a whole season or even connect a computer with your friends so you can race together. It wasn't a revolutionary game by any means, but everything it had was top notch for the time being. 1994 NASCAR Racing. Choose one of the 38 drivers in NASCAR to drive as in the game and dominate the season. That was basically the trend in the mid-90s, and it worked really well. Again, you had the option to connect to your friend and drive the tires off virtual machines. This was also the time when NASCAR game developers were thinking of making a game each year. 1995 Grand Prix 2. This game officially wears the title of a racing simulator. It was made under an official FIA license, so technically this is an official F1 game. You play as anyone you choose in the 1994 Formula 1 season. You can race on all tracks, collect points, and win the championships. Special liveries and events were not featured though. 1996, NASCAR Racing 2. The sequel to NASCAR Racing went over the top with technical upgrades. Better graphics, sound, physics, and a lot better multiplayer took care of way more fun than this game's predecessor. This was also the first racing game to use 3D acceleration. Cool.
That car's on both sides. Hold your line.
1997, Gran Turismo. Everyone knows the legend, Gran Turismo, a game about buying used cars over and over and dominating championships with them. This franchise literally pushed the entire racing genre forward by a country mile thanks to its advancement, popularity, and accessibility. 1998, Grand Prix Legends. This game was a modern take on the 1967 season. An interesting idea, and I would love to see Codemasters do something similar in the upcoming F1 games. Unfortunately, this game was a commercial failure, because no kids that this game was aimed at knew any of the drivers in the game. Still looks hot AF though. (1999) Ferrari F355 Challenge. This game, developed by none other than Yu Suzuki, was unfortunately a mediocre one. Fun racing, yes, but that was about it. Nothing revolutionary, especially when you consider that along with the Dreamcast and PS2 versions, they also released an arcade machine. An arcade machine in 1999! That's a no-go. 2000, Grand Prix 3. Featuring the 1998 Formula 1 season 2 years after it ended, Grand Prix 3 is here. This game right here was considered to be the best racing simulator to date, developed with the help of retired racing professionals. It later got an expansion featuring the 2000 F1 season, but no 1999. Strange. 2001, F1 2001. Released by EA in its good old days, this was one of the first of many. It featured a complete 2001 F1 season in which you could play as any driver on the grid. Many games had this before this one, but F1 2001 brought the technicalities to perfection. Well, as close to perfection as you could get in 2001. 2002, Live for Speed. Developed by a 3-person team, this game is nothing short of a legend. Scowen Roberts, Eric Bailey, and Victor van Vlaardingen got together with one mission: create the most realistic vehicle simulator out there, and create it they did. To this day, the community keeps bringing new mods, wheel support, VR support, and more. It's basically an Assetto Corsa of the early 2000s. You can also get this game for free. I'll leave a link to it in the description. 2003. NASCAR Racing 2003. To this day, some consider this game the pinnacle of NASCAR games. The driving physics were incredibly accurate for the time, and the vast selection of teams, play modes, and car setup was amazing. 2004, Richard Burns Rally. You don't hear people say that the early 2000s were the golden era of gaming for nothing. Once again, this game is a rally simulator that people play to this day just because of how good it is. For 2004, the simulation is incredibly accurate, and some hardcore rally fans say that no other game has come up with better rallying physics since. The community still creates mods, keeping this game alive and up to date.
Right, long, 50, easy left, 200.
2005, R Factor. Is this game also a revolutionary one? You bet it is. R Factor was a super popular game at the time that once again focused on making the most realistic simulator on the market. They introduced complex aerodynamics, technological advances in tire modeling, and the ability to drive basically everything that had 4 wheels. 2006, GTR2. This is a GT racing simulator developed under the umbrella of FIA, making it an official racing game. Once again, racing veterans were involved in the development to ensure all of the 140 cars you can drive feel as realistic as possible. 2006, netKar Pro. We stay in 2006 for this one. Simulazione, everyone's favorite game developer, released this piece. The focus was full realism. They brought in the most complex tire model yet, where dirt, grass or tarmac affect the handling realistically, and a fully interactive cockpit like in flight simulators. Some consider it a hidden gem. 2007, Race 07. An officially licensed piece by the World Touring Car Championship, this game is basically that. You take your touring car and you drive its wheel off in a season trying to get as many points as possible. 2008, iRacing. While this game was originally released 15 years ago, it still keeps getting updates to this day. It's a subscription-based game, so you pay monthly to be able to race on the publisher servers. Even official esports races are sometimes held here on iRacing. 2009, Real Racing. This wasn't a strong year for sim racing games, so I brought up a mobile game. Yes, I know the realism just isn't it, but Real Racing and its 2 sequels brought at least some level of realism into smartphone gaming that wasn't there before. A great improvement. 2010, Ferrari Virtual Academy. This isn't really a full-fledged game, but it counts. The sole purpose of what you do is that you take a Ferrari F1 car and race against the clock on a racetrack. That's it. But since it was developed by Simulazione, the simulation is incredible, and some F3 and F4 drivers even practice in this game. 2011, Driving Simulator. Yes, no sim racing, but it's fun. Probably. You can drive a bus. That's cool. 2012, R-Factor 2. With the development of this game's physics taking 3 years, you know it's gonna be a banger. This is exactly what sequels should be about. Major improvements to everything, better online supports, esports friendly. This game is so good that even some real-life racing teams use it to tune their car. 2013, RaceRoom. For some reason, this game isn't as well known as some other mentioned in this video, and I don't think it's fair. RaceRoom is a free-to-play online sim racer where you can either play completely for free or pay for premium content. You gotta make money somehow. The best part is that if you're really good, you can actually win races hosted by the developers and win premium and much more. Granted, it's not as good or fun as some others, but come on, it's free! 2014, Assetto Corsa. Do I even have to say anything about this? Simulazione's greatest masterpiece, the magnum opus of sim racing games. The possibilities are endless. With thousands of mods online, you can have eternal fun with this game. An absolute banger. (2015) Project Cars. This game brings a great career progression system into a world full of open-world do-what-you-want games. It brings order, personality, and great fun. Well, it wouldn't have gotten 2 sequels if it wasn't good, am I right? (2016) Automobilista. A very underrated game considered to be a direct competitor to Project Cars. This game has a very fun and very accurate simulation. It's also an official partner of the Brazilian stock car V8 series, so you'll definitely find a couple of those cars to drive in here. It's nice that not all games are about the most popular series like NASCAR and F1. (2017) Project Cars 2. A direct sequel to Project Cars, this one brought it to the next level with their LifeTrack 3.0 system. What it does is that it applies the temperature, humidity, basically weather, realistically, and most importantly, it changes. In most games, you choose the weather and it stays the same. Here, it changes lap by lap for an even more realistic experience. (2018) Assetto Corsa Competizione. This game doesn't bring much more into the original Assetto Corsa. It's basically just an esports version of the original for serious sim racers. If you want to get into sim racing professionally, this is probably your best bet. 2019, F1 2019. We're back in the F1 world with the release of 2019. Considered one of the best releases of the entire franchise, it polishes most of what the players complain about, or what was buggy or just not fun. 2020, Automobilista 2. This game really focuses on the Brazilian vibe. Its main features are once again the Brazilian Stock Car Championship along with the Copa Truck Championship, also Brazilian. The interesting thing it has is that you can drive old open-wheelers from the 90s and retro touring cars. That's kinda cool. (2021) NASCAR 21 Ignition. I know this will be controversial and earn me many hateful comments, but please listen. Ignition introduced a new handling model in which they got a lot of things very right. Although people are hating the living hell out of this game, the driving model is something that they kinda nailed. (2022) F1 2022. And we continue with the hated games. The inclusion of unnecessary skin shopping and F1 Life money cow was, to say the least, not popular. But the racing itself is still great. When you look past the dummies in online lobbies, the physics and the simulation itself is once again great. 2023 Rennsport. It's not often nowadays that we see a completely new franchise taking on giants such as Assetto Corsa, Project Cars, or R-Factor. Well, this is one of them. At the time of recording this video, there's a beta version that you can sign up for, and if you do, you might get some free keys for the game later. You can also join the game's Discord server to keep up with the progress. I'll leave a link to the website below, and I'm really looking forward to this.